Hey, you two. None of us want to die to this. Just calm down. We ain't getting anywhere shouting at each other.
Whose side are you on, Zachary?
No one's. But we can't just say it's her fault. She did warn us not to open it, and both you and Ashton...
That doesn't exempt her from any blame. She's still largely responsible for it.
Bruh. You really want to throw hands right now, Rebecca. I'm gonna throw you in this fountain, and then I'm gonna throw the trash at you. Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Letter. I am a little bit congested sounding from what I can tell, but it shouldn't be as bad as earlier. Last time we were here, everyone got haunted. Rebecca is mean as always, and I'm never gonna let it go. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. G's nowhere to be seen. People continue to trickle out instead of in, and by the time I get back, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon these people, too, will be gone, and the whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead, there's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room in on one of the tables set right beside the windows. Or at one of the tables. Sometimes to me, I don't know if it's right because I'm not an editor. I don't know how to edit for to save my life. When they use in for stuff, for certain things, I'm just like, I think it's supposed to be on, but that one I'm just like, no, wait, that's supposed to be at? She usually keeps the curtains closed around this time, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, though. I don't know why I added though. I'm already not off to a good start, okay. Outlining her small form and pulling on the surface of the table where both her arms rest. In her hands, okay, why do you still have this and why are you looking at it? In her hands, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. The letter. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it, yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again. The rare ones, the ones where she's too still, too quiet. A complete opposite of her usual self. But it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short few seconds of wordless silence when the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest minuscule things that tell you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me, annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibs. Back again to what we're used to, what's easy, what's familiar, where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe. Who wouldn't be? Well, I do agree with Rebecca, her words still hit below the belt. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me, at least compared to every other person I've aggravated, intentional or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this mood.
Come on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke and she's expecting there'll be more of it. You did tell a terrible joke. Most of your jokes are terrible. Really now. She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be. Yeah, sure.
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online. Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now.
Yet it sounds half-hearted at best. Like what's happening has already sapped every bit of energy in her, and all that's left are the words. Pretty soon those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already useless to see her like this. Everything has already gone to shit. I'd like, at least, this one thing to stay normal. So somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of the hour, talking, joking, where there's short, feeble responses and banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. Is this actually happening, or are we being hypothetical? Because her face is still the same expression. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter, when it finally rings, easy and free of her burdens.
Okay, I have another one.
I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away.
No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl.
Will you leave me alone if I bite and ask who?
A pause. And then she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually settling on a grimace.
Oh.
Suddenly, she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she's trying to contain.
You're awful, and I really hate you! Just leave!
It's contagious, her mirth. Soon I'm joining her in it, briefly forgetting every problem that has piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Laughing without reservation or care, until only a familiar warmth lingers once both our amusements ebb by. Somehow with her, these things have always come easy.
Feeling better?
A little. You're still lame.
No, I'm still pissed.
But you're laughing right now.
Only because your humor is terrible.
Right. Keep telling yourself that. And you know
Oops.
what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked.
He thinks it's funny.
That would have been really messy and ugly.
If glares can kill, with the one she sends my way, I'll probably be dead by now. Seeing it directed my way, it takes only a few quick seconds for me to realize how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears, however unintentional it is. I've never been good with words, but that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? Suddenly taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated than correcting or explaining myself, nevertheless I try.
What? Crap. Damn it, that was so not what I meant.
I don't think you're ugly, I think you're so beautiful. Oh no, I mean, not that I think you're beautiful, like, in a romantic way, but I think like as a friend way, you know? Just makes it worse.
I was just saying you look better when you're smiling.
Her glare doesn't even wane. In fact, I think it intensifies like the brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should...
Thanks, Ash.
She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet, but when I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the whole room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last strains of music fading into silence above us. Instead, it's the meaning behind her gaze as she holds mine that lingers. Steady, unflinching and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and an expression softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy it is for her to wear her heart on her sleeve. How she never shies away from expressing herself even among people she barely knows. How she can go through everything without losing herself. Now it's among the hundreds, thousands that hang unspoken between us. Trivial little things with worth still too big to put into words. Either because it's too early or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this'll do. Until the moment itself dwindles. Until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we've set aside in its favor.
Isabella, about what happened with Rebecca earlier.
I should probably apologize to Becca. I know she only means well. And I said some really bad things.
Well, you didn't say anything that was terrible. Rebecca literally said everything that's terrible. She doesn't deserve an apology. Well, you say she means well? No, she did not. Are you... Ooh, I knew I was gonna get mad when I started this. The corners of her mouth quirks up, almost as if she's too ashamed of the things she said. You didn't say anything terrible that I remember because I was complaining about you not being able to say anything terrible. How does Rebecca just get away with everything? She sucks.
Don't worry, she can be pretty stubborn, but she'll listen. Especially to you.
Whatever.
You think?
Because Zach won't be with us anymore.
What? What? Excuse me? That was terrifying. For one, because to be able to hear myself better, I have one of my headphones off. And his voice line was very loud in my right ear. And just hearing the first part of him saying Zach, and I'm staring at the dialogue that is definitely not what he just said. We're not letting Zach die as much as possible. I'm just gonna say that. So, thanks for giving me bad luck, Ash. You're one of the few people she likes.
She won't stay angry for long. I can vouch for it.
She has a point, though. Isabella freezes. In an instant, the pleasant air around us dissipates. She shifts her attention back to her hands again, both clenched so tightly that her knuckles visibly pale.
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there. That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe, right?
It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only lead we have, after all. But Rebecca also has a point I will always agree with. No matter how desperate I am, it's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we might find in there? If she comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. She'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. Exactly as I told Zach. If there's a need to go back to that accursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Anything to keep her safe. I mean, I know she knows it's dangerous. Saying that is probably just gonna make her mad. And I mean, neither of these options say I don't want you to come with me, or I do want you to come with. So I'm just gonna go with, she knows it's dangerous, so I'll say I can't let you do that if we really want to go alone.
I can't let you do that, Belle.
Ash, the people living in that place now, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are.
I know, but it's risky. It's dangerous. We don't know what you might find in there. Or if you'll even find anything. What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do? For all we know, it might be a dead end. It's not worth it to put yourself in harm's way like that.
She offers no response, not even a form of resistance, no further argument like I've come to expect from her. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin till the air in the whole room grows heavy. In front of her, her hand still stays curled up like it's holding on to everything she wishes to say but can't. I like to think that yes, to some extent she understands, even if she does not entirely agree with me. The dilemma's clear in her. Otherwise, her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it. Her lips wouldn't be pressed in a thin line, or her hand would no longer be balled into fists. She would have pushed that argument. If she doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Instead, she simply offers a nod, an acquiescence. In a moment of boldness, perhaps insolence, I reach out for her, taking her clenched fists in mine and drawing them closer to me. She sucks in a breath, soft and sharp, but doesn't say anything, merely watching as both my hands cradle hers. Cautious, mindful, as if it's the most precious thing I've held. And again, maybe it is. Along with everything I've yet to convey.
Stop that.
Surprisingly, although the gesture has startled her, she yields, allows a touch that is far too familiar and more than what I'm willing to give most.
You're going to hurt yourself if you keep doing that.
Gently, I unfurl her fingers, flattening out each digit against my palms. Her nails have already created small dents on her skin from how tightly she's held it close. A little more and she would have drawn blood. Deep as it is, soothing a thumb over the tiny marks does nothing. But it's a small gesture we both find comfort in amidst this chaos. And all at once, the tension lifts. Her expression softens, the lines of her shoulders ease, and it is only after her lips curve up in a faint smile that I let go. Giving her hand one last squeeze before returning it to her. Part of me wants to tell her, admit that it's exactly what I'm planning tonight. Wait, did I even read that right? Part of me wants to tell her, admit that it's exactly what I'm planning tonight. Oh. I'm just getting confused because he's talking about one thing and then he moved back to the plans, I suppose. My brain is just not grasping. What good will it do, though? I've already told Zach one person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware at least where I'm headed off to in case things don't pan out. Expect the worst even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. It's best that I simply leave it as it is for now. Isabella doesn't need to be burdened with the worry my entire scheme entails. I stand up as soon as footsteps shuffle from the next room, its cadence slow and hesitant. Shortly, Rebecca comes into view, clutching her hands firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty on her face. She casts me a cursory look, then shifts a nervous one to Isabella, who studies her with an almost hopeful gleam in her eyes. Their fights never did last long.
Belle, can we talk
No, absolutely not.
alone?
No, I don't trust you. Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad for it. Whatever kind of friendship I share with the two, this remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. I'm the outsider. They don't need me here. It's all the reason I need. Muttering an excuse and flashing Isabella a quick, knowing smile, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge, and leave them to mend things on their own. Before Isabella can say what she's been mulling over, before the last imploring glance she directs my way forces me to change my mind. It's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs the conscious among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. Probably will. Probably. Galway Shaw's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight, with the lively music and chatter slipping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. Without much trouble soon enough, I find myself standing outside under the chilly Luxbourne night. A gust of wind picks up shortly after I step out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or two before it starts. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material closer to my body while I weave my way through the lines of empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinkles in my pocket with each step I take, though I pay it no mind as I hurry towards my car. I've nicked it minutes ago from Isabella's belongings on my way out. If this is all connected, I need this damn piece of paper with me. However ridiculous it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be missed either. But I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. 3 if I'm inclined to go by the rules Z-Man set, but when have I ever? Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. So I hurry, one footstep over the other, echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. Practically a universal rule. And it does. In the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. What the? When did you get there? Rebecca turns just as I near, the corners of her mouth twitching up in a wry smile. She offers no greetings except for a slight tilt of her head. Aren't you supposed to be in the bar? What the frick? Even as my pace slows and I look at her with all the unvoiced questions in my eyes, she remains wordless, merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention up at the starless sky when I come to stand beside her. Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, weary, thick with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away while she hugs her arms closer to herself to keep warm, which raises the question why she's out here. The air's already heavy with the promise of rain. With the clouds obscuring the view, there's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness. Still, she stands here as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall. That or she's here for some other reason. But before I can voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question.
I'm not here to stop you. Wherever it is you're planning to go off tonight, I won't be able to anyway. You look like you've already made up your mind.
How'd you get here before I? Like, weren't you just in a conversation, or did we have like a little time skip before Ash decided to just book it? Which doesn't make sense, because it sounded like he was getting out of there immediately, so no one would have a chance to say anything. Did you use like a back way or something? Like...
Go back inside. It's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to be caught in it.
I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here a bit for some air, away from the noise inside. Everything's been so chaotic these days. This little break is nice, even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot, of all places. Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
It'll be over soon.
The confidence in my own words surprises even me. How do I know? How do I know? Why am I so sure? When in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, if I don't find anything, we're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light draft sweeping around us.
How I wish. I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes.
I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma.
I can try. But, you know, it also did a lot to us.
Tell me about it. The back of my head's still smarting from my fall last night.
Not that kind. I'm talking about us. As people. I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it also brought out an ugly side to us. To all of us. And it made me realize plenty of things. About myself, about us.
Rebecca trails off. Suddenly, a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless times before, and every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by a memory, a silly story, or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Unlike me, who'll much rather forget, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she smiles, I know this is one of those times again.
Do you remember that one time, back in secondary?
Which one? We did a lot of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point.
Mandy.
I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you've kept in contact with her. Are you guys friends now or something?
Oh no. We do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch, but it's nothing like that. We're not friends. Not in this lifetime. I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day. And from then on, things have changed.
She makes it sound like I'm some sort of hero. Mandy was in the wrong. Of course I'll defend her. If no one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are it would have escalated, and who knows, maybe she would have stopped going to school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I acted because I know what I'm doing is what's right. It's as simple as that. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that. A fondness that goes beyond nostalgia.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this time, I don't want this to go unsaid. You know, just in case something happens. Ash, I've always been in love with you.
Yo, what? Really? She says it so plainly, holding my gaze in a voice too frank that her admission stuns me into silence. Like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one fell swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought, as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues, desperate to express everything she has kept to herself all these years. This is what the fondness is. Why, for her, it weighs heavier than any feelings of nostalgia can carry.
Since that time in secondary? Since I made that promise to never leave?
Oh no, are you gonna cry right now?
I've always truly loved you.
Afterwards there is relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back at me, though, there's nothing but hope in them, eyes that are searching for an answer. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I find myself grasping, scrambling for the words. Because as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affection she's asking from me. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold her feelings that goes beyond the boundaries of friendship. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad that she's stuck with me even through the toughest moments. Even when she finds me difficult or aggravating, which is like all the time. However, it's really all there is to it. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more.
Rebecca,
I draw in a breath, ragged, unsure. Uncertain how and which words to put together, so it'll hurt her less, so the words they might leave won't be as deep won't be as deep or scar. Though before I can even string two phrases together, she lifts a hand to my mouth and silences me. A smile's on her face, kinder than every single one I've seen from her so far. It's nice to see it on her. It suits her more than the glares or the frowns. But at the same time, it only serves to baffle me.
You don't have to answer me.
Yeah, but you should... I should...
No, I mean, you don't need to.
Okay, now I'm really confused. One moment you're saying you've been in love with me since secondary, now you're telling me to shut up?
If you want to interpret it like that, all right.
No, really. Some explanation would be nice, Becca. Because a lot of things are going on right now, and I'm afraid I can't catch up. Especially with this curveball you just threw.
It means what it means, Ashton. You don't need to answer me. I don't really need to hear it anymore. It's not that I don't want to. Believe me, if I were the same person I was before this whole thing happened to us, I'd be elated, excited even. But like I said, I also realized some things. Understood myself more. Ash, I did love you. Ever since we were kids, all those times you defended me from bullies. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, even after this. But at the end of the day, once you take a closer look at everything, it also turned me into a really selfish person. When you think about it, maybe the Ashton I loved isn't the one standing in front of me right now. Maybe all this time, I'm still clinging on to that aloof kid I met 17 years ago. I didn't even consider that you have a mind of your own. That one day, it won't just be the two of us. That you'll find someone else and it won't be me.
I'm sorry, Becca.
I'm not even sure what I'm apologizing for. That I can't return her feelings? Or because I'm somehow holding myself responsible for this, even if up until now I have no idea how she felt. Regardless, she continues to smile through all of it.
It's not your fault. Don't say that. I'm the one who should apologize. Since I suddenly sprung this up on you when you have other things to do, I just thought I should let you know, so I can finally let this whole thing go. One question though, are you going to tell her?
Tell what to who?
I pause, frowning, a brief moment of doubt while I try to figure out what she's talking about all of a sudden. When it finally sinks in though, my bewilderment hastily gives way to utter embarrassment.
Oh, shit.
Heat abruptly crawls up my face, no matter my efforts to keep it down. In the end, I can only look away from her, afraid of what else she'll see in it.
Did you really think no one would notice?
Was it that obvious?
It was surprisingly easy to tell, but that was probably because I've known you longer than anyone.
Fuck, who else knows?
I think Zach suspects.
Shit.
You're embarrassingly lame when you're trying too hard. It's almost painful to watch. Don't worry. With your terrible way of flirting, and knowing her, I'm quite sure Belle has no idea, even now. Not even a clue.
Harsh, Rebecca. Really harsh. I could use a vote of confidence, you know.
She laughs, loud. The kind that's free of any burden, ringing above the wind slowly picking up as the storm clouds approach. With it, however, the awkward atmosphere lifts at last. There's only that camaraderie we've shared since meeting in that classroom 17 years ago. Okay. It's bothering me, I have to say it now. It's so weird to have her, like, apology and, like, this scene after all the crap that she said and the fight she just had with Isabella. That was, like, mad harsh. Like, how am I supposed to, like, take this? I'm petty. I'm gonna keep my grudges. What do you want from me? So how am I supposed to just forgive her just because she's having, like, a sweet moment? I don't care.
I'm serious, though. Tell her. And if you ever make her cry, I'll hit you with every damn history book I have on my shelf. Clear?
Like when she does stuff like this, after you know what she's thought, and like the only reason she's thought otherwise is because fucking Luke, of all people, said something. And I guess she really took that to heart. Finally, a stranger who really slapped her in the face with their words. Not afraid to talk back to scary pink-haired lady, I suppose.
Noted, ma'am.
Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I won't keep you long. I know you have things to do. Just promise me you'll be careful, alright?
She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she gives me a push with a force only heavy enough to throw me off balance. Caught unawares by the gesture, for a few moments I fight for purchase against my car's trunk, bracing my hand on its smooth surface. When I look up with a string of reprimands ready at the tip of my tongue, Rebecca's already halfway through the parking lot. There's a small skip in her steps while the breeze carries the light tune she's whistling. On a whim, I let its notes be the last thing I commit to memory before slipping inside my car and driving off. She's probably whistling the London Bridge thing again. It sounds like a new beginning more than anything. Another reason to be optimistic. Well, don't get your hopes up yet. You still got a scary mansion to go to. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxport and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. The rain falls in fast, steady sheets, creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Man, mansion looks especially scary right now. Despite having grown up in this city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body every few seconds. By the time I found cover under the trees lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. And you have that fur around your jacket? That's gross. It's just all drenched and heavy. My hair's also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag, Wright, has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry, the main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property, although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped into the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off, even the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself. Feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I'll pass it off as some kind of power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or is about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet, simply observing, watching, listening. For anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables in what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. I can't act impudently. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in a prison, not a morgue. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully, keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near, until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguished cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. You have a taser? Maybe, start off with the taser first? Just in case, we don't know. We're in her territory now. We don't know what she can do. She could, make you think you're seeing something else, and then you shoot, and you're like, oh no, I just shot one of the security. Damn. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and nothing. Abruptly it all stops, and I'm met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness. Even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeats against my ears, behind me another branch breaks and...
Help me.
Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting, and tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hand fights for purchase, only to meet air. But then it's too late. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Then I'm dead, and now it's Luke's turn. Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I failed to do and who I failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off ever so slowly. A chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me apart from one. There's only fear. Once again her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Are we gonna find Mary Ann? Is she gonna be dead? That'd be pretty whack, though. If she survived and then we come down and she's dead. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remain still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the hole in my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths, and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the topside. Regardless, it fails to mask the old musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul. Like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Are there still, dead bodies in here or something? Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though? If this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear is inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Turns out that alone is too much to ask for this early. 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly raises above my footfalls, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless, straining my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corners of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here, or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once again. Afraid. Frantic. Weak?
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself!
I wish the background CG was, like, dark and dim, like it should be. Because it kind of throws me off a little bit that everything is lit, but for them, it's supposed to be dark.
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Well, the ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
Skeleton. In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. Nope, never mind. I can't remember if I could put down the dialogue, because I wanted to see if the floor is just dark or it's supposed to be like reddish, like old blood or something. I like the little animation on the little torch, though. It's kind of funky. And not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
The same one I met at G's 5 days ago. Smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCullough. Very far off. Marianne McCullough, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now with how exhausted and feeble she looks. Trapped in a jail cell of all things. How many days ago was it, too? A couple of days, right? Her breathing's shallow and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in and that woman... Whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. This is just reminding me of... You know how Girl Scouts have cookies? Well, there was this place in the old place that I lived where they would do something like that. The fundraiser, that's the word I'm looking for. But it was with like this big chocolate bar. And that chocolate bar is so good. It's so expensive though, but it's so good. And I never remember what the fundraiser is for. I'm just like, hell yeah, give me one. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she has said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Let me squeeze out some rainwater from my jacket. There you go. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort if the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then it won't be a pretty experience. That's not true. Isn't it you can survive a week without water? Without, like, I guess, like, major issues. And you could survive a week without water. It should be cold in here, so getting, like, dehydrated through, like, sweat shouldn't be an issue. And then with food, depending on, I guess, like, body fat and stuff, she should be good. Like, yeah, she hungry, but I don't think it's been a week yet, from what I remember. You know what? Let's check. When was the party? Lining up to buy dinner. No. The 28th. Okay, so she fell in on the 28th, because that was when the party was, and it's now November. So she's been in there for little more, let's just say 4 days. Yeah, she's been here for 4 days. Hasn't been a full week yet. I feel like outside of, well, depending how much she ate on the day she fell in, because that was during the night. That was evening. She fell in during the evening, and it should be, and it's evening again, November 1st, I suppose, depending on the time. I can't remember if it's like early morning or late evening. She should still be good. But just to fact check, because I don't want to be wrong about the 7 days thing. Oh, damn. Okay, I don't know where the hell I was getting the week thing from. So I guess, like, the base, like, the average, I guess, is like 3 days depending on the person. But, like, water is the most important thing, obviously, for the body. And we, like, excrete a lot from our body. From, you know, peeing and sweating. A lot. So you need to take in to replenish, like, constantly. And then with food, you can actually last pretty long. That's crazy. I don't know where I got the week from, the week thing from. Because neither of them were a week. Neither lasting for food and water are like two very big things. Because water's 3 days, and then food is like 3 weeks. I don't know why everything's 3. So I really don't know where I got the week thing from. Fact checking. I'm never confident in what I know. But damn, she was in there for so long. I would think, though, like, you wouldn't even be thinking about how, like, hungry or thirsty you are because you're fucking terrified of the ghost. Did the ghost just torture her for that one night and then left? Left her there in the darkness? And then, oh man, it's also dark. And you stay in the dark, you kind of lose it. Wow. Damn, Marianne got the worst of it. I mean, she's still alive though, so it's not, everything's not so bad. She's gonna be traumatized for life, sure, but without water, the human body can only survive 3 days, give or take. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks. Wow, you're so specific, Ash. But even then, it won't be a pretty experience. You'd think I'd know better after watching Naked and Afraid. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here, not like I need it. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to this cell together. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to fit the door and free her, lift the door. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe?
Or a piece of bone.
Anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in because, disturbing desecration of a corpse, no thanks. I mean, I did say I'd use, leg bone, but I was just kidding. I wouldn't do that. We're not that desperate. Yet. We can't have another person trapped in here, however McCullough ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head snaps back to her. McCullough extracts a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is in between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection. Surprising that it hasn't degraded that much.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCullough's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think if I was dehydrated, maybe I would drink from Ash's disgusting coat. I mean, there's no dignity at this point. Just come here. I'm gonna throw up a little bit, but I need that Wawa.
After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something. Someone.
A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes. Something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then.
There's A door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry. And I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans.
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here. People died in this place. Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
Ooh, more evidence. I nearly forgot about it.
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me. But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
Never mind. No evidence for us.
Mikala, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Mikalo!
Abruptly she stops, looks back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days for my own friends even. To know she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. Can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me. Only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. She can always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and let her. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll prove ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. Then, without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. I wish they ruffled up Marianne's, look a little more, so she's not so pristine, to really show how haggard and how long she's been in here. Occasionally she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She told you that there might be a way back through, dummy. Not even paying attention. Some detective you are, didn't even bring a flashlight. She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar, indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare, but after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages. I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit, especially after she mentions it's only by chance she had been able to open the door last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be with me feeling this high-strung intense. I'm not even sure why I thought it'd be a good idea to enlist Makala's help. Although she has been quite helpful so far, I can't shake off the horrible feeling something's going to happen to her if she stays with me. Even if I'm her safest bet, if she wants to get out of this place alive.
You really believe that, don't you?
You shut your whore mouth!
Did you say something?
Makala pauses mid-step, turning to me confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard...
Don't you think I'll be the first person who'll know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time I'm sure. There's really a voice, well, voices. Despite the look of protest Makala shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching the immediate surrounding for the familiar form of the woman. I don't even have to venture too far to where I'm standing. Just an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. And right on the biggest fragments, they speak. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo through the small undercroft. Murmurs and laughters, jeering, scoffing, deriding, lacing venom into every crevice in my head, taunting me.
You dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own. You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
How come everybody else has, like, individual teeth, but Rebecca has, like, one tooth? One big tooth. My mistake lies in this first sentence I've answered. The very second denial has slipped from my mouth, their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Despite knowing they are merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickle into me, spurring the guilt I hope I've long buried.
Are we? Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time? Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder? To know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late. And you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends. Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together. No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are. You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity it knows, to hear it said in my friends' voices, even more so. But what I hate above all of it is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
In the end, your own incompetence will eventually lead to the deaths of everyone you care about.
A laugh, sharp and piercing. At its sound, something in me snaps, a rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand and... Something grabs at my wrist, followed by a buzz as another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
A fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once there is this deafening silence. Slowly I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint old scent of death and decay somewhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist as if to keep me from hurting myself. In my hands a shard, blood drips from where it has cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep. Negligible even. There's a pain, however, a different kind, an ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but where every single word is hit. When I glance up at McCullough, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it. No matter what happens, don't do what it says. It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. She breathes a sigh, heavy. Perhaps weighted with her own guilt, what this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
She walks off without another comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragments one last glimpse. On the ground they lay lifeless now, no more voices, no more insults. But even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey. You aren't going to die. And you are going to die alone.
A fear. One that has been long kept in the darkest place in my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It isn't even locked, probably left open for when Wright asks for some midnight snack. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help McCullough up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master, or doing some extra late-night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants, no anyone. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently, I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? There's a window right there. I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think what might happen. Sometimes it's best if we simply revel in the little victories. They're great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly a sob, ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, McCullough immediately tenses. Her eyes go wide and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it, if only she had the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. Makes sense of the 3 or more days without proper food or water. Dude, just rummage through the kitchen. Steal whatever's in here. And if it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes, she's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She is a liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
McCullough still appears as if she's about to argue, so instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. A standard issue for every member of Luxbourne police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet, Miss Interior Designer Extraordinaire stares at it as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you. But if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you.
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic with my chances. McCullough seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any sign of protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls of this room, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out of the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to, the entire place just feels empty. Odd when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there would be one or two roaming about for some late-night chores, or someone seeking out whoever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
Shouldn't they have security posted inside as well?
Unless their security means a butler, though I doubt Scumbag's that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Probably more than his own wife. And the things he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who'll do anything to keep himself safe. Alive.
I wonder what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCullough's help. Next to the people who owns this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweigh the pros. She's better off somewhere quick exits in sight. With no tag-along, I only have to worry about myself, watch my back. Selfish, I know.
But necessary.
In the same manner this whole plan is, no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide when the house's layout is fairly simple, almost mirrored with only a few modifications on the rooms. Yeah, but what if there's more things that aren't on that weren't on the layout? Gonna get lost in a labyrinth. Though I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's ins and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, I shouldn't be able to find my way around. I should... What? Should. Right? After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me, where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure if I should be trusting what I'm hearing. But with the whole house somehow seemingly devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
I just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
But nothing's ever that simple, isn't it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural, nope. Because as soon as my feet crosses the next room, something shifts. In a flash, nearly without fanfare. It happens in the blink of an eye, I almost miss it. One moment, there's red. In the next... I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping on the walls, none trailing down the stairs or pulled on the floor, no eyes watching my every movement. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with a voice.
Mother,
Desperate.
where are you, Mother?
Pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
Coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from, upstairs. The place is not entirely empty then, a better question now is who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide nor hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Maybe the wife, though one can't really tell if it's her the way the walls echo her voice. Nonetheless, it pushes me to move. Taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, every small corner I pass. As if the house has several eyes watching my every movement, as if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. I can't wait till this place gets knocked down. I try to shake it off, but the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach, dread, and it only grows deeper the closer I get to her. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for Scumbag to simply show up. I don't get too far down into that train of thought. Abruptly, the cries stop, replacing it with,
Mother, please. She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me. She won't leave, Mother. Mother, I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
that can't be good. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet's already moving before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up to me. My hands ready at the holster as I hastily set off for the far side of the hall. One alarmed footstep after another while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. He keeps talking about the gun and it's making me anxious because I feel like a blunt weapon or the taser would have been a better option. The gun is too fatal. The gun should be the last resort and not the first. But he didn't bring anything else with him. One alarm footstep after another while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end and coming from the floor above.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I don't hesitate. Moving in despite the lack of light, the steep stairs or the thick layer of dust kicking up with my every step. I pause only a moment upon reaching the top. Then, without wasting a second, I push the door open. Look at him. He looks so not modern. She sits in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched, shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she has heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed like I'm standing in a time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please.
Big yikes.
I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I noticed a blood knot on her hands. If it's the same one drenching the whole attic, I'd rather not know, so I just close the door with a little click. How the whole room has ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even the single human body doesn't have this much blood. So bodies? The thought sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news, alright, but this? This is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at the first sight of it. Anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here unmoved by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room. Repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. To whom? The mess of parchment she's left on the floor? Is she doing, like, the devil's work or something? Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you...
Really? You're just gonna... The rest of that question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. But there's little I can do when a well-placed blow to the back of my knees makes me stumble. The momentum alone sends me reeling forward. It barely even registers in my head that the woman's gone and the room's as normal as it can be. Not above the pain suddenly shooting up my side when I hit the floor. Don't even get the chance to get my bearings back when a hard enough blow to the stomach causes me to buckle down and land heavily on my knees. Oh, great. Gasping, I fumble wildly for my gun. Although before I am able to turn, level it, and shoot, a hand grabs my wrist and twists it. Hard. A gasp. A grunt. A cry of pain slips past my mouth. Gun falls to the floor with a thunk. As soon as it lands, a foot kicks it out of my reach and slides uselessly under the bed. Agony suddenly explodes in my chin, jerking loose a sharp cry of pain, and stars fill the edges of my vision. A brief moment of regret hits me for leaving my taser with Makala when a piece of cloth closes around my neck. Without warning, my attacker pulls tight. I'm left gasping, choking, and clawing for air, blindly reaching behind me as I still try to fight him off and loosen the pressure on my neck. Except any sort of movement only causes him to pull it taut.
My, so many rats scurrying about in this mansion lately.
I had a feeling it was him. He's the only one who seems to know how to, like, do something. Writes Butler. Shit.
Tell me, what did you do with the madam?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did something happen to Hana, right?
Let go, you asshole.
Now, Dummkopf, you're in no position to be rude. Last time I checked, I'm not the one breaking into other people's homes. Now answer my question. What did you do with the madam?
The pain rings and resonates through my already sore body. Still, I manage to write it out and spit a mutinous.
Fuck you.
Keep that dirty mouth babbling and you're getting a knife in the kidney. I assure you, it will be more painful than this.
He really doesn't need to threaten me by now. It's all too much to bear at this point. My lungs feel like they're burning with the lack of air. Dark spots begin to fill the edges of my vision. Ever so slowly, the world around me dims. My consciousness rapidly slips away from me, and without meaning to.
Get away from him!
Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket of ice-cold water. Familiar, too familiar. And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. I hope she didn't come alone. I hope, like, the whole team came along, cause she shouldn't be here. Immediately, my eyes snap open. She has a taser! And the rolling pin. And right there, right on that attic's doorway, stands Isabella of all people. A rolling pin on one hand, in one hand, and a standard issue police taser on the other, my taser. She must have borrowed it from Makala. I hope well, there's stuff in the kitchen she could use, it's fine. Where else could she have gotten one? I doubt she's ever used one even. Hell, the way she holds it right now, this guy can easily disarm her in one hit. But there's something in her eyes. Although there's a look of fear in them and her hand shakes, she keeps the weapon trained and pointed at Scumbag's lackey. Untrained or not, she does not plan to leave here without putting up a fight, it seems. Admirable, really. But it's just not something we need right now. I need her to be away from here. I need her safe. But the chances of that happening grow slim with every laughter that slips from him.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. The Bratwurst won't be pleased with the number of bodies we have to dispose of today, you know. Tell me, how many of you are there? So I can prepare the proper number of bags.
Was there other people that came in? Like actual, I don't know, assassins or something came in. And then we just get caught up in the misunderstanding. Sort of. I mean, we did break in, but not for the reasons that they think. Damn it. What the fuck is going on? Why is she here in the first place? Did she follow after me? How'd she get here so fast? Who else came with her? Zach? Rebecca? Are they all here? I hope so, from all that story updated. Panic surges within me. She knows how bad the situation is, but did she really have to run in here and expose herself like that? Why'd she say anything? She should have just fired and or smacked him over the head. I think tasers are like one use. I don't remember. Does she even know how to use a taser? For fuck's sake, more than worrying for my life, it's her I'm concerned about. Getting strangled, dying by choking isn't part of the plan, but her following me here isn't either. This is why I prefer to do things alone. This is why I'd rather be the only one to take the consequences. Shut up, you're being strangled right now. You don't have time to think. Don't even want to think what this bastard might do to her after he's done with me. Though my voice comes off nearly a croak, I try to tell her as much. She has to leave. Far away from here and these people.
Don't!
Damn it, Isabella! Get out of here!
Another bout of pain erupts in my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood in my tongue as I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
Ash?
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
What do you mean, Ash? He's being strangled this entire time. Why are you so... Just do something already!
Get out! 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 Belle!
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you
Enough
here.
talking! More action! He laughs, too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears in spite of the warmth in them sends chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. Ah, that's probably why he's not a doctor anymore. He won't hesitate.
I'd follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy? Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
There's a moment of silence. Fuck, I can barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though I still don't exactly understand what's happening, Isabella shouts. Not a cry of pain. Late bloomer? Not a yell of panic. But one that's resolute. Firm. Perhaps in a tone that's leagues fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me. Ashton, duck!
I do. More out of instinct and desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The thing is, tasers are also not that reliable, because I think they really need to, like, get more skin contact, and depending on what you're wearing, sometimes it's not effective. The telltale sound of a taser being discharged resounds through the room. There are crackles. Something whizzes by almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt connecting solidly with another object. The next thing I know, the towel strangling me has started to loosen. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. From my peripheral, through the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles. He spasms once. Then, without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by 50,000 volts of electricity and a fucking rolling pin. He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, an oxygen-deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. Right next to her trembling hands, both the taser and the rolling pin lie useless, forgotten while the mood in the room eases. A long, gradual process of the tension lifting. For countless seconds we remain quiet, with only our short breaths and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline ebb away, both our breathing to slow. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still the curse. We're still inside the mansion, in imminent danger. We still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere. White and piercing, the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. I stir first once recovered, having regained some semblance of senses and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable, as is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow I can manage. Retrieving my gun from under the bed is easy, but only with some effort. I am able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff on his wrist, while fastening the other on the bed frame. I should keep him restrained for a few hours in case he wakes up prematurely. All through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved since. Her hands still shake and taking in long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any results, spurred only by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light shake.
Belle, we need to go. We can't stay here.
Slowly she turns, staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them along with something ineffable. Then without warning she lifts a hand, and slaps me right across the face. Okay, uncalled for. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like a fragile glass breaking. Even Ash has teeth. But Rebecca doesn't. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me until my head has already snapped back and my cheek stings from her anger. Isabella, really? He was just strangled. He nearly died from asphyxiation and you're just gonna slap him? Jesus. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards, not fuming though, never fuming, but the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly. A frustration instead of a seething rage. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows, and once the tide subsides, there's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching. Quietly, I brace myself for the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, never fading under the sound of the rain still falling fast, if not for the weight in each of her words. There's just something funny about the way the teeth is. It just looks off.
What is wrong with you?
Belle.
If Zach didn't slip up, no one would have known where you went.
That's a lie. Rebecca knew. She had a feeling. Zach knew.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and...
You almost died! He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died!
Yeah, and then you slap me. Just, ugh.
I told Zach to give me 4 hours. That would have been enough time to...
It would have been too late! And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer!
Yeah, sure. And I'm grateful that you came and saved me. But you didn't have to slap me. I was already strangled. That should be enough punishment. She trails off, drags one in-drawn breath after another. A brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolves into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and weary, in her next words there's only sincerity.
You count too, you know? When I said that night, when I told you that I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive. We're still here, Ash. You have us.
Once her meaning falls, roar, it does so not with the force of a dam breaking or a raging storm, but with the gentle, steady warmth of a hearth burning, an ember easing slowly, lightly, rising and giving until all that's left is a truth and understanding. Not alone. Never alone. It lingers even as we both drift back into silence and her words take root, because in the gratitude that swells after is another warmth blooming. Pleasant, welcoming, like finding home, like finding ourselves in the haze a squall has left, creating something fragile yet immutable in both of us. It's in her eyes, in the way she holds my gaze unwavering, in the way she carries herself despite sitting amidst a place she fears. In the way she keeps herself from trembling and falling apart because fear is inconsequential when people she cares about are at risk. A change. She realizes that now, holding on to it. Another little thing, another small thing from her, that may go unnoticed and pass by quietly but will eventually amount to a lot of things. Tiny gestures that mean nothing at first, but begin to matter to me one day until... oh. Despite myself, a small smile slips from my lips as the same warmth from earlier unfurls in my chest. Unhurried, familiar, and bright from all these years I've carried it, but never given the words for it.
Stop smiling like that, Ashton! I'm not done scolding you!
Do we really have the time to be yelling at each other? Well, mostly you yelling at me. I'd very much like to get on with what's going on. I don't think we have that much time. We're running. We're running on a very small timer. We don't know what's gonna happen. Apparently something's happened to Hannah Wright. I don't know where Luke Wright is. And we have a man who we don't know when he'll wake up. And considering that he seems to be pretty, have not resourceful. He knows how to do things, let's just say. And I don't know if those handcuffs are really gonna keep him. But this time they come easy.
I heard all of it. Don't worry.
Are you really okay? That guy hit you a little too hard on the head. Here, let me...
I reach up just as she extends a hand towards my face, catching her wrist in a light grip, drawing it closer and folding her hand in between mine. Although her expression does shift into mild confusion, she does not pull away like I'm expecting. She simply stares at me, searching. For her to allow a gesture from me that's perhaps too close tells a lot how far things have already shifted in the past few years. Cradled in mine, her hand still trembles. Most of the tremors has already subsided by now, though I doubt it'll fade away this soon. Even as I trace the lines of her palm in what I hope is a comforting gesture.
I'm sorry. No.
For what? Is this about what happened tonight? You can apologize later, when...
No, I will not. I will not apologize.
No, well, this too, but it's not just about this.
It's for a lot of things. For calling you clumsy, and careless, and a scatterbrain.
Are you sure this isn't a concussion?
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't usually apologize.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that too. For all the times I've teased you and made you cry.
Unexpectedly, her fingers tighten around mine, our hands falling between us as something tender shifts in the air. Another exhale. Another drawn breath eases out of me, filled with every hesitation and uncertainties, but when I finally choose to break silence, I'm gonna be honest, I like, just like in The Office, I know this is sweet and nice, but we're currently in a situation that we shouldn't really be having that long of a heart-to-heart. I'm sorry for being a douchebag to you. I will not apologize about coming here alone. Because, you know, if I didn't come here alone anyways, probably would be in a worse situation. Because both of us would have been caught, and Johannes wouldn't have been caught by surprise. We still got a lot to do, you know. We can have a heart-to-heart after this, because once this is all said and done, I will be taking the longest vacation. It's only when I know that what will slip past my mouth is that one truth I will hold against the world.
But for all those callous words, despite all those...
Are you gonna confess to her, like, right now, really?
There's nothing that I don't love about you.
Really? You confessed to her in a place where a bunch of people were probably tortured and killed? Come on! Pick your moments, man!
In fact, those things, I love those. And everything. Everything that's you.
For a moment she offers no response, her grip on my hands merely tightens. Although my heart's pounding hard against my ears, I take a chance and look up. One moment. I just wanted to see what our relationship was at. Slightly leaning away and giving her a cautious glance, more than ready to hear her rejection. And it is one despite the smile on her face, if it can even be called one, of course. There's a pain aspect to it I can hardly name. Regardless of what it means to her or what she intends to convey with it, the sight of it alone makes me regret ever mentioning anything. It's almost as if she's forcing herself to push out the next words out of her mouth for the sake of not hurting me. Not that I won't be able to take it, but if these feelings will only put a heavier burden on her, I'd rather not have said anything at all. As expected, with one last squeeze at the hand cradling her, she pulls her hand away from mine. When she speaks so, there's a stark refusal to meet my eyes. Not that I hold it against her. The situation's already awkward as it is.
Ash...
She pauses, biting her lower lip. A small frown forms between her eyes while she struggles to find the right phrases to string together.
Ashton, I'm really sorry.
Oh, no, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Maybe we should just split up. You take upstairs. I'm gonna head back downstairs. Yeah.
I was already expecting that. Kind of. But you don't have to...
No, I mean, I can't. I can't afford to think of anything other than helping my family. Especially now that Papa's gone.
Damn, why was that voice line so quiet?
They're going to need me more than ever, Ash. I'm sorry. I really can't. Not right now.
I've always known it would lead to this, to some extent. Her family will always come first. Who am I to take that from her? It hurts, of course, but the pain eases knowing that in spite of circumstances, her heart will always be in the right place. That she's still the same woman I've fallen in love with. I would just expect the ghost to just pop out like, man, this is gross. I hate people who are in love.
It's alright, Belle. Don't apologize. If it still matters, that's actually what I love about you. Of course, not that I'm expecting anything by telling you that, but you get the point. Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. I mean, thank you for loving me. Even after everything.
Response is a smile and a soft laugh. Perhaps the sweetest I've seen and heard from her. Just from it, I know nothing will change despite her answer and any lingering feelings that will come from this. And there will be. Lingering feelings, that is. With the way she barged into our lives 5 years ago, it'll probably be enough to leave a terrible impression on anyone, but that's also precisely it. It's people like her that you don't easily forget. It's them that gradually worms their way into a person's life until the very thought of losing them becomes unbearable. As it is, I'm already content simply staying by her. No grand expectations or hopes attached. Just the banter, the small smiles, and the quiet little moments that roar. I love her, but that also isn't all there is to us.
I know I caused you all kinds of trouble these past few years.
Hey, whoever told you I'm doing this for free? After we're done with this curse thing, you're gonna owe me a year's supply of ice cream.
Yeah, we'll see.
Another laugh, this time from both of us, then she hits my arm with a light punch. Familiar, warm, bright and hopeful, much like everything about her. And it is strength enough to keep me going as I lead us both out. Power still hasn't come back when we make our way downstairs. Tricky considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that'll happen to you. With the stairs this steep, a broken neck is a likely outcome. Thankfully, Isabelle is here to guide me through the darkness. She knows this place better than anyone, after all, in spite of all the misfortunes it has brought to us.
Careful, the floorboards over there aren't very sturdy.
Right on cue, the same board I'm stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks. The pieces falling somewhere with a dull thunk.
Oh shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, my foot.
See? I told you so. You never listen to me.
They renovated the whole mansion. They can't even replace one tiny part of the house.
Why don't you file a complaint to BRC then? I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it. You know it was such a rushed job.
Outside, the winds have intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the window in the attic. It makes you wonder why, up until now, the only person we've encountered from this house is the butler. Although to some degree that makes sense, he is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants, though? In this storm, wouldn't anyone want to stay inside? A likely assumption is they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they've likely assigned as the servants' quarters, however, they have also heightened security. I've brushed it off earlier, thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's room are, but the second floor's devoid of anyone as well. As if every inhabitant in this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? And also, the security that was outside, would they really be, like, just staying outside in the storm? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that we're here right in the fucking middle of it makes me all the more queasy. And that feeling only escalates once we reach the landing and Isabella swings the door open. She pauses abruptly right in the doorway that I almost run into her, a look of confusion in her as she looks wildly around the place, wordlessly taking in her surroundings. With each turn and shift of her eyes, her shoulder only grows tenser and a look of apprehension slowly dawns on her.
Isabella, what are you...
We aren't supposed to be here.
Sure enough, when I look up, we're standing right in the kitchen, pots, pans, and all. In one corner, Zach and Rebecca watches almost as surprised to see us. Makala is also with them. I hope she's eaten and drunk something by now. At least I hope there's something for her to eat and drink. If the ghost is having a way with the mansion, who knows? It might just be bugs in there. Of course she didn't listen to me even if I've already exceeded the 15 minutes we've agreed on. Although color and strength seems to have already returned to her enough for her to be able to stand unassisted. The empty plate on the counter appears to have played a part on that. Good news, I guess. As for the other two, however. Relieved as I am that they've had the sense to wait and not venture deeper into the mansion, I can't keep but roll my eyes at both of them.
Zach, I said 4 hours.
I know, but Isabella asked and... Come on, bro, you know I ain't a very good liar.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
We all tried, all right? She was out the door before we could say anything.
And how did you guys even get in here?
All three of them exchange a look. One that I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Isabella who speaks up, albeit with a bit of hesitation.
We heard someone scream, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind us slams shut.
We need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky we're in the kitchen and we have 2 ways out. The back door and the cellar offers. Except the hatch won't budge when I pull at it, and neither does the back door, as if something has locked it firmly on the other side. Zach also gives a few tries, but even with the big guy's strength, it won't open. There's a long bout of silence in which we all simply look at each other, likely sharing the same thoughts. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally led us here. Fuck. In that same moment, once realization dawns, something shifts again. Blood. In every nook and cranny, over every surface and in every inch of the floor. This time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of that familiar metallic scent. Sharp, suffocating. Around us, every object, including the cupboards, have started to rattle as well. Ow. The sound from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Though inaudible, each beat and note bombards every crevice my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining room. It should take us straight to the foyer where the main door is.
Move! Run!
Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we're in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room like it's supposed to open to, the bedroom welcomes us instead. They really kept the picture of the lady, huh? An image that lasts only but a second before blood begins to seep into the room. Filtering into the walls, trickling from every nook and cranny. Everywhere furniture shakes and every beam rattles. Before we can even step back from the horror gradually unfolding in front of us, the door slams shut. A loud thud bringing a sense of dread and chill creeping up in each of us, along with it another realization. The whole place is reordering itself. And with the door closed tight behind us, showing no signs of budging even through sheer force, there's no choice but to go forward and hope to all gods that it'll lead us to an exit. Until then, running's the only thing we can do, spurred by nothing but fear and a sense of desperation to live.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
But with each room we pass, it only becomes apparent that the house has no intention of letting us leave. It lured all of us here and we've fallen for it. Now it's playing a little game with us, a sordid form of amusement. For whom? Their laughters are the only thing we can hear. With every hall we cross and door we slide open, the hope of finding an exit merely dwindles. The gun at my hip is useless here. I'm useless here. Some fucking genius I am. Some fucking person to trust I am. All of those, they mean nothing in the face of the unknown.
You finally figured it out. Huh, Ashton Frey?
You shut up.
Just give it up. All of them will eventually die because of you. And you are going to die alone.
Shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah, what he said.
You know it's true, though.
All of it.
It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it.
No, I just don't want to hear you speaking anymore because all you say is the same fucking thing.
You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
All you have is being a big-ass bully.
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
The more gruesome the place turns, the bleaker our chances simply get. Wails and screams fill our ears as we pass by, words from a time and people long gone, laced with nothing but pure agony, calling out, reaching out to us. Their voices almost too real, as if we're not the only ones trapped here, that there are others begging for release from this wretched place. Or maybe it's all just a show, a taste of what we will eventually be, souls forever held captive in a never-ending nightmare.
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Is this what the curse is? Or what it means for all of us? That the letter, not a morbid cry for help, but an invitation? A beckoning for unsuspecting souls to be dragged into this place's horrors? To be put under centuries and centuries of torment and agony? Suddenly dying a painful death seems preferable, enticing than ending up here, living a tortured existence. Or perhaps it's all the same. Still, hope worms its way into me, not a usual thing for someone like me. But after going through countless doors and corridors, every little sign of hope I'm willing to cling to as long as it'll get us out of here. We're back in the dining room again. How long have we been running? How long since we've left the kitchen? At some point I've lost track of time, with the windows barred tight and the sounds lifting in the air, nothing but shouts and shrieks. It's impossible to tell. Not that it matters when an end is in sight. Shelves and furnishings bar the door, each stained with blood and gore, that, if the situation isn't as desperate as it is, I'll find a different way out. But there's still a gap left at the topmost part of the person, for the person to go through, as long as you use the shelves to climb.
It's an exit, all right.
From here I can spy the familiar walls of the foyer. Relief, only relief washes over me. Although my legs have been strained taut by all that running, and every bone and muscle in my body aches, there's only an easing. A sense of tension relieving while energy back flows through me again at the sight of an end. Do you think that the dude from, what's it called? Seiya no Utah or something? Do you think he'd see a perfectly normal mansion? Like, this place is like covered in blood and it's supposed to be terrible. Would he see just it pristine? He's like, oh my god, this is the best place to live. It's so normal, and he just chills. And that's it. Or does it have to be really gory? Because I remember that, like, he sees gore normally. I don't know. I once saw a playthrough of it, and I hated him with all my being. Everything would have been fine if you just fucking said something, man. Hey, Doc. I think you screwed something up. I'm seeing everything as meat and I can't understand you. So, I would very much like you to fix it, please, because I don't like it at all. A sense of tension relieving while energy backflows through me again at the sight of an end. No sooner I'm leading us out of it. Zack helps McCullough first, assisting her up and through the gap before giving a hand to both Rebecca and Isabella. The moment the ladies are in, I nod for him to go through.
Go ahead. I'll watch your back.
Surprisingly, he does that without any protest, not that there's any need to. Sometime after entering this room, the whole place has calmed down. No wails, no whispers, just silence too deafening. But I'm not letting my guard down until everyone's on the other side of this nightmare safe. What if you don't play it, like, at some point you just seen so much of it, you're desensitized, and you just sit back and you play poker or something, and you wait until she fricks off? For all I know, this may just be a calm before another storm. Without further incident, however, Zack makes it to the other side and I'm following after him. However odd this hush is, I turn my back from it and climb up. It's a tight fit, but I manage to squeeze myself in. The unease remains, though. Maybe it's the adrenaline still coursing through me, or how easy everything has been after living through that nightmare, fleeting as it is. But for some reason, something's still nagging at me. Call it a detective's instinct or my training or whatnot, I have a feeling something's going to happen and catch us unprepared. Unconsciously, before dropping down on the better side of this dream, my hand shifts to the gun at my hip. Instinct has never failed me before. My feet haven't even landed firmly on the floor when...
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two. People these days, in my own home. Can you believe it? I feel so left out.
A chill seeps into every vein in my body. All of a sudden, every ache, every pain returns to me tenfold, and my knees threaten to buckle at the sound of his voice. No, it's really that awful. Though it appears friendly, I know it is anything but. It did not sound friendly at all. One does not spend investigating a man like him for over a year and holding a grudge against him for more without knowing everything about him. His quirks, his habits, I'm familiar with all of them. And right now, Luke fucking Wright is beyond pissed. Shifting my gaze upwards is nearly too painful knowing the danger. Not to me, but to those who have been lured in here by the curse. The handgun catches my eyes first, next to that smarmy smile on his face while he holds Makala, Zack, Rebecca, and Isabella at gunpoint. It's sight enough to lodge a painful thorn up my throat. I've been too complacent. Too focused on other things that I've completely set aside the fact that scumbag will not be too pleased to see us here without knowing our reasons. But even with those good intentions, curses, and ghostly apparitions aside, we're still trespassing in his home. Question is if he's even aware that the whole of his household has somehow disappeared and he might be the only one here. Likely not. Fuck. Even with people he knows among the crowd, there's a significant effort in him not to simply shoot everyone on sight.
And really, Daisy, even you, what would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Marianne was in your cell basement place for 4 fucking days, guy.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home?
Look at her. She smells like piss. And rat shit. And death. Hello? She'd probably be dead in there if we didn't come.
What about little Lily over there, then? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is?
I mean, like, technically, yeah.
Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
Oh, please, what?
Becca's right, sir. We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Tut-tut, not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman. Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
Casually, he waves the handgun at them as if it's just a mere toy and his words are no threat. The safety's off on his, nothing stopping him from pushing through with his words. Call me paranoid, but at the slight gesture I draw my own and level it at him, finger on the trigger and ready to release a safety catch in case things go south. He's quick to train his own on me, though, and just like that, we're at a standstill.
Now, Feathers. Manners.
Oh, is that feathers on his coat? Oh, that's even more gaudy than I thought. I was okay with fur because that's just how, like, some coats are, and it looks nice. I mean, other coats look nice with the fur around it. It's still a little gaudy with the fur, but if it's feathers, oh my god. Ugly.
You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The ghoul! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Shooting him right now will be so worth it with the way he stares at me like I'm a damn pest. This isn't what I've come here for. I'm not a murderer. As much as I loathe him, I'm not the kind who will kill people in cold blood for my own gain or amusement. The law will bring him what he deserves one of these days. At the moment, however, we're all in the same boat with this curse, and he needs to understand that. The longer we stand here, the more time we're wasting and losing, something we don't have much of. But how can I convince him? This scum is so full of himself, perhaps to hear the sound of his own voice more than those of the people around him, no matter how much sense they make. Probably the only way I can make him listen is if I beg. No way in hell that's happening. Ah, no! No! Would it be awful if I stopped here? It would strike his ego, though, if I begged him. And disarming him, that's a really big risk. If I disarm him, that could go bad. So easy, especially because the way that they're positioned, I'm pretty sure that Ash is facing everyone. There is a very big likelihood that if Ash ends up firing, it could hit somebody behind. And after getting that one voice line, I'm scared that Zack might die in this moment. Ooh. I could stop here and still not be able to figure out what I want to do. So I'm just gonna do this now, and... Oh, should I beg? Should I... Oh my god. But Luke's also too much of, like... Oh my goodness. Would he even listen if we beg, though? Oh my god. Fear tells me to beg, but considering he doesn't want to listen, like, he doesn't give two shits right now about what we have to say. I think I'm gonna disarm him. Dude, I'm so scared. I can't look.
Sorry about this. I really don't have time for you.
I don't think twice. Within the span of a heartbeat, I'm moving and pulling on the trigger. 2 shots in quick succession echo across the whole foyer, and both hit their mark true. Wright recoils with a sharp cry of pain. His pistol falls useless to the floor with a loud clank, followed by drops of blood from his bleeding wrist.
Why, you insolent!
He's down in 2 successive steps when I tackle him on the floor, pinning him hard with my arm. Although before I can knock him out with a solid right hook, an agonizing wail bursts through the tense air, loud enough to echo along the dark, empty halls of the mansion. Piercing enough for every occupant in the foyer to cover their ears and close their eyes. Then all at once there are images. However, there's no time to make sense of all of it. I miss the discord and the noise. Something whizzes past. I think they're using the wrong pass. Too close, too swift. A brief, keen blur that barely registers in my eyes, like an arrow quickly finding its mark and heading straight for her.
Zach!
Oh no! No! Time slows to a stop. In one moment of clarity, my body moves on its own, heart pounding hard against my ears, blood rushing through every vein. Spurred only by adrenaline and a desperate bid to reach him, and I don't even get to yell for him a second time. I don't even get to call his name.
Ash!
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh no, an acute pain burst through my chest in the next instant. All of a sudden, everything around me feels too sharp, every edge, every point. Even the act of drawing a deep breath alone stings and burns my lungs, while an intense ache slowly spreads through my whole body. Numb. I feel numb. A hand comes away bleeding, shaking, while I can only let out a wet, ragged laugh. Soon, without warning, I'm going down on my knees and the whole world is pitching sideways. An arm strong and steady is on me the second I stumble back, catching my fall. Zach has always been there, after all, but now nothing has changed.
Ashton?
His hands are shaking as he looks at me with dread. A pang of regret hits me at the sight of it.
Sorry, Z-Man.
Hey, bro. Stop talking, will you? This isn't...
It seems this will be the last time anyone will call you that.
There won't be anyone to cause you trouble anymore.
Bro, this ain't the time to be. Just stop it with the jokes!
Cautiously, despite the stabbing ache shooting up at every moment, I reach a trembling hand up to bump a fist against his chest, just like the old times. My arm never makes it far, however. Midway he meets my hand, catching it in a tight grip, as if to still hold on to a life slowly slipping away. Not that he will be able to. The pain is easing. Everything's already going cold.
Don't worry, bro. We'll get you to a hospital. Just don't move, okay? You're gonna make it worse. You'll be fine. You can call me. Man, you can call me Z-Man all you like. After you're fine. We'll get you help.
I like to agree with him, reassure him. But I've gone through a lot, survived a lot of shit. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that I'm done for. Whatever hit me, a hole to the chest is fatal enough. I don't think I'm going to bounce back from this. I'm dying.
I'm sorry.
I should be afraid in this moment, yet I'm not. No fear, no dread. Just an acceptance. And a deep regret as she appears before us, her voice echoing through the foyer. At the top of the staircase, Hana Wright stands. To make matters worse, the thing's behind her, menacing, a rotting hand wrapped firmly around her neck. She looks like death. Pale and shaky, eyes red with tears, we nearly don't hear her as she pleads.
Help me. Please.
I told you, didn't I? Everything you're doing is useless, Ashton Frey. And now, you're dying. Meddlesome fool.
Outside, another streak of lightning flashes and a clap of thunder ripples across the sky. Here, there's only a whispered sigh. A fading breath. A lone heart that beats hard one last time. She got one thing wrong, though. She got one thing wrong! I didn't die alone! You stupid bitch! I did not die alone. You've unlocked a memory fragment. Yeah, I don't know if I can access it right now. It seemed like I could, but I don't know where it is. And it's fine, considering right now, it would be kind of like out of context, I guess. It'd probably be better if I got as many of the fragments as I could, so we can get like the full story. And maybe by then I'll finally know where it is. Or like I have to finish this before I can actually look at it. So, we'll see. I'm so curious about what would happen if I beg. Hopefully I'll have that part saved and I can do a quick back through. It's like one of the only ones that I for sure know. Maybe I don't really remember anywhere else that I want to go back to. I know that one for sure I want to go back to see what happens. I knew something bad was gonna happen. Did not expect him to do 2 shots and hit and basically destroy Luke's hand. After that, not quite a premonition, but after that voice line error, I was really scared that we were gonna lose Zach. To find out we lose Ash instead! My goodness. I was not expecting the frickin' spear to come out of nowhere. I thought, like, the ghost was gonna come in and, like, grab Zach and, like, throw him around the room or something. So at least, like, we kind of know what's going on. So I don't know if they keep, staff living in the mansion. We know Johannes is there. I don't know when he ever leaves. He has a husband, so it's weird that he would live on the grounds. But maybe things started happening before we even got here. All the security outside, completely unfazed. They're just doing their job. It's raining. It sucks. Do not realize that within the mansion, whatever staff is there, frickin' Hannah and Luke are... Well, probably not Luke. I don't think he frickin' met with anything. He was just in an empty house and confused. Johannes probably also confused, like, where the hell did everyone go? Where's Hannah? Where does she go especially? Like, I don't care about the other staff. I'll figure that out later, but where the fuck is Hannah? She was just hanging out with a ghost. Not having a fun time. I just really want to know what the hell is going on. Like, why did... What's her name? Charlotte? Why did Charlotte do any of this? I would think it'd be out of malice, like, she's racist or something, but what was that whole thing in the attic? That was some, like, dark magic shit. I can't even really think of, like, a scenario. She was calling for her mom and saying to take her with her. That could imply maybe she was killing people to either bring her parents back, or she was trying to... She's, like, delusional and wants to go to her parents or something, like enter heaven. But you're not gonna enter heaven by killing people, lady. We only ever really get glimpses of certain things. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of anything. I need more information. But yeah, surprisingly, I thought this would go longer, but I did not take into consideration, I didn't take into consideration the amount of story updates and how significant that is for the branching tree to progress. I mean, it still looks super long compared to the others, but yeah. We're gonna be going on to Luke's, and we get to see, I don't know where we're starting with Luke, but we get to see what happens after his arm gets shot, and how he reacts to Hana being choked out by the ghost. But damn, Ghost was pissed. It's like, you son of a bitch, that's my man! How dare you! Well, you shouldn't have let us stay in the mansion. You're lucky he's still even alive. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day and a good night. Sayonara.